Hey everybody, it's Robert with the Not Move podcast, and I got with me a very special guest, former NFL player, also a head coach for the Hampton Pirates, Coach Malone. Man, tell me about yourself.
Robert, first of all, man, thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you, and man, I'm moving forward on this new opportunity here at Hampton. We just finished spring practice, and our coaches are now out on the road going through spring recruiting, and man, we're excited for the summer ahead, and then moving into the fall season.
So let's stick with coaching while we're on coaching. Um, what is one thing that you are looking forward to this season?
Well, as a coach, man, every season is different. And for me, this is the first season that I've had an opportunity to be a head coach. And so, that in itself is a moment that I've dreamed about, that I've planned for, that I've prepared myself for over 20 years. And so I'm excited for that opportunity. I'm excited to watch my team, the team that I've been working with for the last few months, excited to watch their growth and development. But the thing I'll say is that we still got a lot more work to do before we step onto that stage of the 2026 football season.
Now you say you got a lot of work to do. What is one thing that you feel like you need to work on the most?
Well, I think when you deal with football teams, you want to be consistent in your execution, and that's probably the thing that gives coaches the most anxiety is that they want their teams to execute at a high level, but a lot of teams can do it on Monday, but not do it on Tuesday. They can do it on Thursday, but not do it on Friday, and they can do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but they have trouble on Saturday. And so that consistency of execution, it comes from daily training of habits. Unfortunately, it's habits that sometimes are not even football related. It's the process of training yourself to do one thing the same way you do everything, and vice versa, right? And people say it all the time. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so it's important for us, for our team, for our coaches, our staff, to be locked in on executing at a high level. And so I wouldn't say that's something that I'm worried about, but that's something that I really focus on every day.
Now you got all different types of head coach. What type of head coach would you say you are?
Well, I think yeah, you do have different types of head coaches, and for me, I really have as a coach throughout my career, I've really focused on being a high level leader, and to me, what that means is I am focused on developing the whole man, right, or woman if I was in charge of young ladies, which I have been in my career at some points, but I want to make sure that I'm developing the player on and off the field, right? A player that plays for me and plays under my charge is going to be developed socially. That means he's going to understand his impact on the world. Second thing he's going to be developed in his faith, right? I'm a proud Christian, and I want each person to find out what their path is, and I want to push them to find that. It doesn't have to be my path, but I want to push people that I'm in charge of to find their path from a faith standpoint. And the third thing is they're going to develop academically, right? Which and they make every university that I've had an opportunity to work at has been a an elite level academic institution, and Hampton is no different. So we're going to develop these guys academically, and then the next thing is we're going to develop them athletically, right? Which is very important, right? That's why I have a job. Is that we're going to develop the players to be able to succeed on the field, right? As football players, and that is a step by step process. You always hear the word process being used, or it's a process, and so I want to have our players be confident in their own process, right? Your process is not the same as my process. You may develop a little bit slower than I do, or you may develop faster than I do. But everybody has to understand their path, their process, and it's my job to help them maximize those moments.
100%. Now, when you talk about developing a player, what is a few steps it takes to develop a player?
Well, I think there's consistency, right? Sometimes I say consistency of effort. That just means that every day, whatever it is we're trying to get better at, right? Let's say it's tackling. We have to break down the fundamentals of tackling and teach that player step by step, slowly at first, step by step, those things. Take him through a process of, if you're building a house, right? It's brick by brick. And you have to teach him that way slowly at first. And then you give him opportunities to do that task. And I just used the example of tackling, but it could be a group effort, right? We're going to run a specific offensive play. And so everybody has a role within that play. And each one of those roles is backed up by a specific technique that you should use, right? You just the running back. If when you hand him the ball, there's a technique in the way he holds the ball. There's a technique in the way he would handle himself if he would be encountered with a defender, right? And so all of these techniques for each individual, they have to be taught. Again, when you run a play, there's 11 different people using those techniques that they've been trained. And so I think that the strength of our staff is that we do a good job of developing those individual techniques that have to show up in the group effort, right? They have to show up in the team effort. And so I think that that is what leads to success, is the clear development of those fundamental techniques that you use every day all over the football field.
100%. Now, when it comes to the season, what are you expecting for this upcoming season?
I think it's important for me. Not everybody views it this way, but every game is important. Every day of the season is important. I call it every guaranteed day, right? Because when you get to a certain point in the season, then you play on bonus, right? This is bonus time. You made it into the playoffs, right? And so those days end up being important. And so there's no specific, yeah, I know at Hampton we have great rivalries, but there's no specific game that I want to win any more than any other game. And so the thing that I want to do is I want to focus our team on coming to work every day, right? Focusing on three things, focusing on out hitting our opponent, right? That means that we play with a physical nature. Guess what? That's my nature. When I was many years ago was a player, that was my nature. I wanted to be physical. I want to be more physical than my opponent. So that's something that I try to give to our team. The next thing is Hampton University is an elite academic institution. So I want to make sure that we are having great pride in outsmarting our opponent. We're not doing dumb things that put us behind the chains. We're always forcing our opponent to do those type things. And so we're going to outsmart our opponent. And the third thing is that we're going to outwork our opponent because, right, no one can ever tell you or predict your effort, right? You control your effort. And so I want to train our players. Our staff understands it, is that we're going to outwork you and we're going to work efficiently, right? We're not just going to be at the office or on the football field for 13 hours a day, right? But we're going to work efficiently so that we can execute at a high level. But those three things are expectations that I would have for our team, no matter who the opponent is, no matter what week it is in the season, no matter what adversities that we would have to encounter along the way.
Yes, sir. Now real quick, switching up to your NFL days, man. Tell me about how the draft went for you in the combine.
Oh, well, the combine, of course, we had that at this time. It happened a little while ago, but for me personally, It was many years ago, and I think it was a really surreal moment for me in that. I came from humble beginnings, and I never would have expected, as a kid growing up, that I would one day be in Indianapolis, one of the top players, competing to find a place, a slot to be drafted. And so I was at that moment, and it's just like I live my life today, just incredibly blessed and overwhelmed by just having the opportunity to be there. And I did not at this time, like you could choose not to run. And it was kind of, I want to say embarrassing, because what would happen is if you would not do an exercise, if you could not do an exercise, you would have to grab the mic and you would have to stand in the stadium and you would have to tell the people in attendance. And at this time, fans couldn't be at the combine. So you would have to basically tell the coaches and GMs that you were not going to run the 40-yard dash, or you were not going to do the bench press, or you were not going to participate in a individual or certain drill. And so it was a little bit rough, but I had an injury, so I didn't run the 40, and I didn't do a few of the exercises, but I did perform in the defensive back drills, the individual drills, and I think I performed okay at that moment. And then when we go on to the draft, I had an opportunity, man, to be drafted in the second round. Was the 57th player overall taken, and I was drafted to Detroit. And I had never been in an environment, cold weather like that. So it was also a different experience. But man, I was so blessed to have great teammates. Had an opportunity to play with some really great players. Everybody always mentions Barry Sanders, but man, had a lot of other great teammates that I played with during my years in Detroit, and finally ended my career signing as a free agent to Arizona. So I went from being in a very, very, very cold place to a very, very hot place to end my career.
So what would you say? What would you say is your welcome to the NFL moment?
Oh boy, I had a lot of those, but the violence of the NFL, the violence of professional football was very different than college. And like I said earlier, I relished on the violence. I relished on the aggressive, the hitting. That was my thing, and I believed at that time that uh, you won the game by the way you played, because you could intimidate your opponent by your physical play. Well, I was on a special team unit my rookie year. I believe we were playing the Jets, and as I'm running down on a kickoff, uh, if you're a rookie, right, you have a lot of energy, you're exuberant, you're excited, and you run down most times without having your head on a swivel. And I was running down, and all of a sudden I got caught by a blocker coming from my right. And the next thing I knew, I was picking myself up off the ground, and the whole world was spinning. And I was, as they tell the story, my teammates, I was walking sideways, walking towards the jet sideline, and didn't even know, where I was. And so that's probably my welcome to the NFL moment. Another moment was in practice when I was very aggressive again and very confident, and I jumped into a one-on-one drill with an unbelievable veteran player. His name was Mel Gray, and for many years, Mel Gray was the all-time leading punt returner in NFL history. And so I jumped out there to cover Mel Gray one-on-one. And when the ball snapped, Mel Gray was gone, and I was still on the line of scrimmage. And so it was one of those which way did he go moments. And so that was another welcome to the NFL for me.
Okay, so I know you said when everybody mentions Barry Sanders, but I kind of got to, man, because Barry Sanders was so good, man. Um, Now I know you 97. You were on the the Lions, and Barry Sanders, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year he went for 2,000 yards. What was that like seeing Barry Sanders go for 2,000 yards?
Well, the thing that I know about Barry, and I knew at that time, was that everything that he got, he deserved it because he worked as hard as anyone on our team, worked as hard as anyone I've ever been around, someone with incredible talent. I've been around players who were not as talented that worked hard, but this guy, he had there's a building in downtown Detroit with him on the side of the building, right? A skyscraper with a mural of him, right? And so when you get your image on a building, I think it's time you can relax, you can slow down a little bit. But this guy never did, and so to watch him perform the way he did that season, it wasn't really any different than the way he did other seasons. But to have him accomplish the things he did, to be able to get 2,000 yards every game, to see him light it up was kind of special, and I just consider myself blessed. Number one, to be able to have a chance to play with a person like that, but then to watch all his hard work pay off in that season and in others as well was cool for me.
For sure. Just hey, it's just like your story, man. Your all your hard work ended up paying off. Now you're the head coach.
Well, I
Man,
say I
God's
think
plan.
it's definitely God's plan, and when you are in this world of sports, of athletics, it's not too much different than other realms, other places we live, other places we work. But in athletics, you truly can see people's hard work pay off. And like I said earlier, a lot of players that I've had an opportunity to play with who didn't have the great talent of Barry Sanders, but they worked incredibly hard. And it's as well very cool to see those kinds of people uh, be able to experience their dreams and goals.
Could you? Is there any way you could throw a couple names for us?
You talking players who work hard and
Yes, yes, sir.
oh man, wow, a couple. One guy who I and that is not an NFL player, but our strength coach. Uh, he's his name is Lavelle Williams, but he's a PhD. Like in this strength training world, this guy has a PhD. And Dr. Lavelle Williams, he's a former high school teammate of mine, and man, I've watched this guy work at a high rate in the weight room to develop himself, and now he's a strength training coach, strength and conditioning coach. But I remember watching this guy who actually is not the tallest, right? I should say he's height deficient, um, and that leads to his story. But I've never seen anyone work as hard as he has, as he does. He had an opportunity to play at Texas Tech, uh, but but he's also, for the last few years before coming to Hampton, he has trained special forces units of the United States military. And so, that he's a guy who comes to mind first. And when it comes to working very hard for the things that he wants to achieve in life. Another person that on a professional level that I was always impressed with the way he worked was Lomas Brown. And Lomas was a teammate who, of course, was blocking for Barry Sanders. And Lomas as well was always working to improve his craft. And there was many years ago when I played, but I still remember how impressed I was as a player to watch this guy work as a pro, because again, like I said, many, many players, once they get to the professional level, their attitude shifts and they, at that point, begin to believe they've made it. And not Lomas. Lomas was always working at a high level.
Yes, sir. Hey, and that's how you got to be, man. You can't just stop right after you get to the NFL because then you ain't gonna get the bread. You ain't gonna get everything that comes with being in the NFL. You
Well,
got
that's why they say the NFL stands for not for long if you don't work.
yes, sir, for sure. Now I got three more questions for you. One question we talked about the NFL Combine. Now I want to talk about does Hampton have a combine?
No, we don't. We
Okay.
we have we have summer camps, right? Where, if that's what you're referring to, where we bring high school kids and and we evaluate those guys. But then our coaches also travel the country and go to what's called in today's terms mega camps, satellite camps. And so we travel. Now I wouldn't say satellite camps, but the mega camps where we travel to other college campuses outside our region and we evaluate players who attend those camps. And so that's a prominent part of what kind of happens in recruiting today. And yes, Hampton does. We participate in that venture.
Yes, sir. Okay, now another question I got for you. What is an inspiring message you would send to the young athletes out there?
Well, I think, it goes to what you and I have been talking about throughout this conversation, is that you have dreams and you have goals. They are your dreams and they're your goals. And you have the responsibility every day that you wake up to to work toward those goals, to do everything that you can to make it happen, right? And if it is to happen, like in the cases that I described with some of those players, and actually, like we talk about Barry Sanders, the great Barry Sanders. Well, Barry Sanders was an undersized, what people in those days would call an undersized running back, and he was not heavily recruited from places all over the country. But what he did is he worked, and all those other names, those people, they worked, and they realized the responsibility that they had as an individual to move themselves forward, accomplishing their goals. And so that's the message that I have for young people, is, again, it's wrapped in what we've been talking about, is that the way you do one thing, the way you do your English class, is the way you're going to do your math class. The way you're going to work out in the weight room, that's the same way you got to work in practice. The way you're going to work in game one is the same way you're going to have to work in game seven, right? When you are in college and you are working hard to be a good student, a good athlete, well, then if you happen to have an opportunity to get drafted, that same work ethic has to carry you to the next place. If you are working for GM, right, and then you go to Ford, like the same things that brought you success on the left hand, those are the same things going to bring you success on the right hand. And there's no other way around hard work. It's one of the keys to success. Now there are other keys, but hard work is one of them. And if you don't work hard, sustained success won't happen.
Yes, sir. 100%. Now, my final question for you. What was your thoughts on the first round in the NFL draft this year?
Man, when you watch, and I've watched it over the few years, last few years, of course, always seeing some of my players hopeful to be drafted, but then watching other players from all over the country, players who I've happened to play against or coach against, and some who I've just watched on TV on the highlights. I really don't ever get into the names, but I get into the fact that there is another person who has, and they're always showing on the draft, they're showing the highlights, but as a person who is now going to this team that they always dreamed about. Or a person like a few years ago at Kansas State, we had about 4 players get drafted by their hometown teams, right? And so from this year, man, I thought it was just cool, like just watching the stories, watching the different teams be able to draft that player, their player, who's going to take them to the next step. And as a coach, I know there's never any one player, right? There's never any one draft pick. It's a compilation of things. It's a compilation of a draft pick. It's a compilation of renewed hope. It's a compilation of renewed dedication on the team of people who are already there, right? Is never just one thing. It's never just one player that changes the fate or that changes direction of a football team here at Hampton, right? It won't just be Coach Malone that'll change the direction. It'll be decisions made by about 75 players who are on our team. It'll be decisions made by the coaches who are on our staff, and that'll be what'll turn this ship around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, real quick, before we end it off, Coach Malone, can you let everybody know about your Instagram? Let them know about your social medias. Let them know where they can find you.
I might seem like I'm all over social media, but I'm really not. But they can find me on X at Van B Malone. And once you type in Van B Malone, it's actually Van B Malone 3RD third. But once you type in Van B Malone, I think it pops up. And so from there, you can find my Instagram, and you can find which Instagram is, I think, just Coach Van Malone. But you can find me wherever after that.
Yes, sir. Now, to end it off real quick, shout out to Millions. This has been an exclusive interview with Coach Malone. Thank you, Coach Malone. This has been great, man. I really loved it. I know you got an interview coming up with Not Move Podcast JB later. I hope y'all enjoyed that interview. Thank you for coming out, man. And as always, this is Robert with the Not Move Podcast. Stay not moved.
And,
the Not Move Podcast is fueled by Dubby Energy. Smooth, jitter-free focus, and flavors that slap. Mango, berry, watermelon. Whatever gets you locked in, they've got it. Hit up Dubby.gg, use promo code NOTMOVED, and snag 10% off your order. Stay not moved, stay energized.
Number Friday nights, 9 Eastern. It's the Dribble NBA edition on the Not Move Podcast. We break down the week, the trades, the highlights, everything around the league. Tap in, chop it up with us, and get the takes that move the game forward. Stay not moved.
The Not Moved podcast drop is here. Snapbacks, hoodies, mugs, stickers, totes, everything you need to rep the convo everywhere you go. Limited run, unlimited style. Tap the link, fill the cart, and
tap into the Not Moved podcast every Friday night at 8 Eastern.
We're bringing the scrap sheet, UFC edition.
Every jab, every takedown, every headline.
All the fights, all the drama, all the picks, right here.
Watch live on YouTube or listen anywhere you get your podcast. Hit follow, hit subscribe.
And stay not moved.
Need some new Not Move drip? The In the Wickets hoodie just dropped. Super soft fleece, heavyweight feel, and the official NMP patch on the sleeve. Tap add to cart, check out, and let us handle the rest. In a couple days, it shows up at your door, ready to rock. Rep the podcast from the couch to the tip.
Every Thursday night, the Not Move podcast drops a new episode of
In the Wickets,
our deep dive on everything around the NHL.
We break down the plays, the trades, the stats, and the stories that matter.
Plus a few hot takes along the way.
Join us live at 8 p.m. Eastern, or catch it on your favorite podcast app right after.
Same energy, same on. Tuesday nights just got louder. Ringside Rewind is live every week, 9 Eastern.
We're breaking down Raw, SmackDown, and everything leading into the weekend. If it happens between the ropes, we're talking about it.
Deep dives, hot takes, and a few surprise
and
replays.
A whole lot of arguing.
Yeah, but the good kind.
Ringside.
The Orphan Elimination Chamber tee just dropped. Fresh out the box. Look at this.
That print is nasty. Chain link O, silver hit. It's tough.
It's soft too, y'all. Fits right. Little drip for the Elimination Chamber weekend.
We rocking these all season.
If you're part of the Not Move fam, you already know.
Jump on it before it's
gone. Grab yours now at Not Move Shop.
Episode of the Not Move podcast is brought to you by the MLB Shop. They have every team's gear, from classic caps to World Baseball Classic hoodies, all official and all ready for game day. Tap the link in our bio to head straight to the shop and snag your favorite merch.
The drop is here.
NMP gear built for everyday and game day. Hoodies, mugs, and the Coach Common jersey in bold gold. Rep the movement. Feel the energy. Shop new arrivals.
If you're craving baseball talk that doesn't flinch, tap in with us Monday nights at 8 Eastern.
It's the Rusty Mitt MLB edition of the Not Move podcast. Breakdowns, debates, all the swings and misses without the fake fluff.
Join us live or catch the replay wherever you get your pods. Rusty Mitt, not moved. Stay not moved.
Attention Not Move Nation. Our first ever jersey has landed. The NMP by JB Sport Talk collab brings premium mesh, bold gold accents, and that undeniable game day energy. Plus, hoodie drop.
Today's episode of Not Moved is brought to you by Open Goal, the world's #1 backyard goal. If you love soccer but hate chasing balls into the neighbor's yard, this thing is a game changer. Its rebound net sends missed shots right back to you, and the side nets keep your landscaping and your windows safe. It's perfect for kids, for training, or just having fun.
Today's episode of the Not Move podcast is brought to you by Walmart.com. With our storefront in the Walmart app, you can get everything you need. Pick up or have it delivered.
We ordered dinner while recording and it showed up before we wrapped.
Better Good sweet corn and burrata ravioli.
Nuri protein drinks, even St. Patrick's Day treats.
Walmart.com.
Not Move, fam. Southgate edition just landed and it's fire. Check the tee, watch out for the skis and the wickets. Hockey stick, cricket wickets, all vibes. We got hoodies, mugs, caps, beanies, whatever you need. Cop yours before they...
At the Not Move podcast, just drop the gear.
Heavyweight hoodies, premium cotton, street ready.
Caps, mugs, and more. Every detail on point.
Whether you're hooping, tailgating, or just repping the pod, NMP fits the culture.
Limited drops. When they're gone, they're gone.
Cop yours today at notmoveshop.fourthwall.com.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.